Oh, hi there. I'm pretending to read. I mean, I could have gone all the way with a bit and actually been reading the book I'm kind of going to be talking about, but I didn't want to take it out of the shot. That's right, everybody. I'm back! Remember Randy Quaid at Independence Day? This is the latest thing Randy Quaid's been up to.
I call for the resignation of everybody at the New York Times.
I love Hollywood so much. Sometimes you just start out normal and then you turn into Zordon. So I'm well aware I haven't made a video in quite some time, but I've been a little busy. For starters, I moved out of the old place I was at. As you could tell, this is a new set. Room. This is my room. I live in here. I shouldn't call this. And then I was in LA for a little bit. That was a lot of fun. Can't wait to go back. Rest assured, I was still out there watching a lot of movies. And I didn't do reviews on a lot of movies that you think I probably would have done reviews on, like Endgame and Captain Marvel. And I did see them, and I do have stuff to say about them even now. I think I'll save all that for another one of those rundown videos like I did. Condense my thoughts without having to make a video for every single movie I saw. You know, that would just be terrible. So look forward to that. Anyway, let's talk about clowns. Who doesn't love seeing a great clown? Who does? Now, I don't think there was a movie coming out this year that I was looking forward to more than this one. That might sound strange in a year packed with just so many big releases. I guess I was just really excited because, you know, everything was sort of landing in place in this really perfect way that I was not expecting at all. Like you read this book and you go, holy hell, this can never work as a movie. But then and it's pretty cool, right? You ever stumbling blocks along the way, like the TV movie, and don't you worry, I'll talk about the TV movie one day. But you know, they make some adaptation changes, they move some stuff around, and overall we get a fairly faithful adaptation of this book. Or at least a portion of this book. That's something I never thought would happen, but here we are. That was one of my favorite films of 2017. Moving things up to the 80s, that's a really nice touch. The cast is fantastic, especially Bill Skarsgård. I'm sorry, Tim Curry, I love you to death, but Bill Skarsgård wins the Pennywise Wars for me. The Pennywise Wars just sounds like some horribly traumatic event. And I really like Andy Muschietti's work. You can really tell that he was a fan of the book but had his own eye as a director and worked that in there as well. That's really cool. You don't see that a lot. So why wouldn't I be looking forward to the sequel? They had the same director, one of the same writers, and the cast looked fantastic. You know, they snuck their big names in there like your Jessica Chastains and your Bill Haders and your James McAvoys, but on the whole, it doesn't feel like stunt casting. You know, it looked like they were really going forward with this big, ambitious sequel that had this great sense of scope and scale like the book. So far, even with the first movie, nothing's really gotten it right. You know, like, you know, the TV movie didn't get it right at all.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
And the first movie, you know, they had their moments in there, but overall, at the end of the day, it's just like, let's beat the shit out of the clown.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
I'm not complaining. I love that. That is my favorite scene in that movie. But the point still stands that nothing adapting this work has really been able to capture that grand sense of Lovecraftian horror and scale that the book does so, I don't want to say effortlessly, let's say like at the speed of like a cokehead rambling something to you as you're trying to get into your apartment. That's something that I was hoping this new movie would do, and the trailers seem to be backing that up. But then I saw the movie, and I have some thoughts. So I know I'm making this, you know, kind of late into the game. The movie's been out for a little bit now, but I did really want to let it sit with me before I made a video on it because, I'm gonna be honest, this is a pretty big disappointment. And I don't want to be overtly negative, so I'm going to start off by talking about the things that I really liked about this movie. Like I said before, for the most part, the casting is absolutely fantastic. Everybody fits their role really well, and the only issue I have is I still think that Amy Adams is a better choice for adult Bev. But of course, Jessica Chastain is a fantastic performer, and she does great in this film. And hey, they even got the bully from the Fred trilogy in the movie.
Okay, what are you going to Judy's house for a little play day?
You do not know how much joy that brought me, just sitting in the theater, realizing to myself, I can say this to no one. The specific standouts are Bill Hader, James
Ransom,
and of course Bill Skarsgård. And though there's a lot of adaptation issues that arise, I think on the whole, the bits and snippets, the moments they took from the book were adapted quite well. And I do have to say, for all my issues getting to it, I think the last act is a lot of fun. It really recreates that haunted house sort of feel that the first movie pulled off so well. That doesn't mean the ending is perfect in how it concludes, but we'll get into that. There is a lot to enjoy in this, and that's why I can't really say that it's, a bad movie. I don't regret seeing it, and I'll probably even watch it again, especially, if they do a cut where everything's pieced together like Andy Muschietti keeps talking about. There's some issues. Issue number 1. There's no plot for like half this movie. And the movie is really, really long, so that just makes it feel longer than it is. When I first heard that this movie was gonna be 2 hours and 45 minutes, I was all for it. And then I saw it and I'm like, if you cut this down, this could be shorter than the first movie, I'm pretty sure. I'm fine with long films and slow burns, but the entire middle of this movie just feels like it's very aimless. Feels like the writer Gary Dauberman was really crunched for time and just had to sort of bullshit for a little bit until they got to the ending. The beginning's pretty solid and the ending's a lot of fun, but the whole middle of the movie is just, hey, go walk around this empty town and find something to jog your memory so we can go fight a spider. Does that sound good?
Would that be good for you?
And yeah, a lot of fun happens in that span of the movie, but it just doesn't flow that well for pretty much most of the movie. On the whole, it just really does come down to feeling like something that was twice as long maybe and trimmed down to half the length. There's plenty of moments where it feels like just very important things are glanced over very briefly, like how Mike has gone into the woods to hang out with Native Americans to learn how to defeat Pennywise, and they show him how to do the ritual of Chud. That's a Himalayan ritual. Spoiler alert, by the end of the movie you find out that all those guys died trying to defeat Pennywise. So I don't, who did Mike meet? It feels like there is something there to be explained that was just cut out of the movie entirely. It just makes all the revelations around that point feel very out of place. It's actually kind of confusing because it's something that they're trying to adapt from the book, but sort of shift around to make more sense in a modern context, I guess, but it just ends up making even less sense and becomes more goofy. I think that's my issue with the film. There's a sort of perfect symbiotic relationship in the book that can only exist when you have the children's side of the story and the adult side of the story happening simultaneously, but the adult half of the story is so much harder to make work as its own thing. That's mainly because a lot of what happens in the adult half of the story relies on the existing foundation of what happens when they were kids. If you sort of shift up and change around how that happened,
that might be what you get.
This video is going to be so fun to edit because I can already tell that the Roger Moore clown face in the background is messing with the autofocus. So I think I'm going to turn that off. You can't really just straight-faced adapt the second part without making some changes, and they do where appropriate. But then there's other ones that just make you go, wait, did you watch the first movie? Like, there's a scene where Bev goes home, which in and of itself, great little scene, but she goes there and she's sort of confused to see that her dad's not there anymore. And in the book, it makes sense because, she didn't whack him in the head with the top of a toilet.
I remember when...
Shouldn't she know he's dead? I know they're all having, memory issues and stuff, but it just seems like a thing that was adapted from the book without any real consideration for what happened in the previous film. And I think what makes it feel that way is there are points in the movie where it feels like it's sort of retconning stuff that happened in the first film almost. They show the young Richie Paul Bunyan scene and it's set during the summer, during the first movie, towards the end when Pennywise was sort of leaving them alone, and it's just was he still going after them during that time? Why wasn't he more successful? Shouldn't he have been really gunning to kill them now? That's another big problem is most of the time this movie doesn't really make Pennywise seem like that big of a threat. In the book, it all makes perfect sense that all these people are terrified to go back and do this. They literally had to go into another dimension and talk to a giant turtle, and there was a giant spider. It was this whole mess of crazy bullshit that anybody would be terrified to have to go and face again, but in this movie, it's Why are you afraid of this clown? Like, yeah, I get it. He's this alien. He's got all these teeth and stuff. He can turn into whatever. But the movie version of Pennywise can't really do anything to you if you're not afraid of him. Like, that's not a thing in the book. In the book, he can get you no matter what. It's just you being afraid makes you taste better. But movie Pennywise, it seems like if you're not afraid of him, you can just beat the shit out of him. That's really emphasized by how this movie ends. You have to do all this crazy shit to fight it in the book, and it doesn't even really make that much sense in the book, because a lot of the book reads like a first draft cocaine binge, and a lot of it probably is. How do you represent this? How do you show going into another dimension? How do you show them having this sort of psychic battle of wits? I know that you have to find some interesting compromise to make all this stuff work, but as fun as this Ritual of Chud scene is, I really don't think they stick the landing. They put way too much emphasis on the clown in this movie as a whole, but specifically this scene, hoping we just get a really cool, creepy looking spider. And then what do we get? We get Clown Spider. It's just what if Pennywise was a spider? Cool. This was one of those moments watching the movie where I just went, okay. What if you like to turn into a spider sometimes? It's really funny. He's got these little like dangling clown arms that don't ever really seem to do anything. It looks like the arms that come out of the Cat in the Hat's thing in the what's the movie with the Cat in the Hat? Then they get through a cave and they start going, it's like, oh wait, he must have to shrink down to get through the cave and, get up that way. So we have to make him small. But how are we gonna make him small? There's more than one way to make somebody small. What? Why are you assuming this? Oh yes, he must shrink down because he's clearly something from our world that has to play by our rules. Do you see what I'm saying when they make this Pennywise like a lot less scary than the one in the books? Turns out, like, this is right. This is the right thing. They have to make him small. That's how they defeat him. They just keep chanting, clown, 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 until Mike just reaches in and crushes his heart, and then everything explodes and. Not exactly a hugely satisfying wrap-up or what have you, but, I enjoyed myself at various moments, but then they just decide to end the movie on the strangest note possible, because the movie ends with them all getting letters from Stan, and he's basically like, oh, I knew if I was back, we'd be too weak. I'd be too afraid and I'd just drag all you down, so I killed myself to save you guys. I took my life so you guys would be safe. What the hell? I think that just makes things 10 times worse. Like, oh yes, I killed myself for the right reason. That's one thing they rearrange where you're just like, yeah, no, that is the movie's biggest downfall. It is too goddamn goofy. Now, I love a lot of the goofy elements of the first one. I think that movie's, sort of bouncing tone really makes it work for me. This movie just does not do that as well. For example, the opening scene of this movie is one of the opening scenes from the book, and it is shown in pretty severe brutality. Everything in the movie after that just feels so much less like real. Some of the only bits that creeped me out in the first It film were the scenes between Bev and her father. Any of the scenes of those two together just left me incredibly uncomfortable. And there's a scene between them in the new movie, between like Bev's father and younger Bev, and it's just handled in this way that makes everything feel so much less potent and real. Like, I almost found myself laughing at it, and that is not something you could say about any of the scenes between those two in the first film. And I don't think it's an issue of directing or anything like that. It just seems like this movie, on the whole, doesn't always know what it wants to be. And like I said, there is a lot of good in this movie. There is one moment that I won't spoil that I know people have been saying is incredibly out of place and weird, and I agree, but it was some of the hardest I've laughed unexpectedly in a movie all year. So yeah, I'm saying keep the Angel of the Morning moment. I don't care if it doesn't make any sense. I think Mike's beefed up role is really good. I like that he's the one to deliver the killing blow, considering in the book he's, in a hospital bed for that entire part. And it is enough to make me revisit it at some point. I think the film will flow better pieced together is one thing, but, you know, that remains to be seen, because there are some issues here that I don't know if piecing them together will be able to fix. I think this film really sacrifices a lot to become more of a conventional horror movie at times. Like, it is a weird book. It's a weird story. I can get holding back for the first film, but, like, you know, when that surprises people and that shocks people, I think you really have to go full force in the sequel to maintain that. This movie doesn't really feel like an escalation from the first film, and that leaves it feeling kind of bland in places. Like, this should feel like stakes are even higher now and things are really ramping up, and at times it just feels like, oh no, we gotta go back and fight the clown again. Oopsie doodle. On the whole, a lot to like and a lot to make me want to revisit it, but I can't help but feel incredibly disappointed at some of the turns that this thing ended up taking. But I guess that's really all I have to say for it in this video. You know, maybe I'll make another video down the line talking about it some more. I definitely like to talk about it more, you know, maybe do a review once they release the long-ass cut that they're inevitably gonna do. But we'll see. We'll see if my interest for this property dwindles a bit now that we don't have, you know, any more movies to look forward to. I give it about a 6 out of 10. Yeah, I guess I'm saying ratings out loud now. I never know what I'm doing in these reviews. If you weren't a fan of the first one, I don't think this one's gonna win you over, and I don't think you really need to rush out to see it. Like, you could see it on is Redbox still a thing? That's disappointing, but hey, you know, I'm still happy we got the films that we did. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys, and thanks for listening to me talk about this. I haven't figured out where I'm gonna go do my outro card yet, but oh my god, a clown! Hi, I'm somewhere else now. What? That's the same joke from the beginning of the video. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I know I've been away for a while, but I am back, and I really want to throw myself headfirst into making content for you guys again because I just love doing it, and I love that you guys are out there enjoying it. I've got some bad movie touches planned up with some very exciting guests. Gonna have a lot more fun. I'll explain this now. I have to get jaw surgery. My jaw has been all kinds of messed up. Basically, these and the braces I or get on the bottom are the first step to fixing all that crap so I can, you know, actually eat pizza without it falling apart. Andy, why did you get the jaw surgery? Was it so you can actually smile and, you know, not feel self-conscious about your face? Oh no, yeah, see, I did it to eat bread sauce and cheese. Scary and stuff, but overall I am happy to be getting it done, and I do think it is going to improve my life tremendously, but of course if I'm going to be making videos where you guys are going to be seeing my face and so on and so forth, you obviously need to know that. I was actually going to put all this stuff in like a little update video, but you know, every time I tried to shoot it, I just kept thinking, well, what's the point? I didn't really want to make a video that was only giving an update without giving you any real content, so I'm glad I held off. If you like this video, well, thank you so much. Why don't you leave a like on it down below, maybe leave a comment saying what you thought of it Chapter 2. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Maybe talk about a movie you'd like me to check out or something you'd recommend. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'm so happy to be making content for you again. Thank you so much to everybody who's been supporting the channel. I'll be working as hard as I can on all the crazy ideas I've got brewing up in my head, and I think you're gonna like what you're gonna see. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. What the